Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Martin. Let's talk about books. The first one I'm sharing today is It Wasn't Me by Dana Allison Levy. In this story, we have a bunch of different versions of the truth, or some version of the truth, I guess. Theo is our main character, and he's taken a bunch of pictures that end up getting vandalized, trashed beyond any recognition. And there are five kids at the scene, along with Theo. But all anybody will say is that it was not them. They didn't do it, they were not the one responsible. Theo really doesn't care who it was. All he wants to do is put it behind him, and he wants to stop being the victim. He's somebody who has had a hard time in school in terms of people picking on him and pointing at him, and he just, kind of wants to fade back into the woodwork. So the sooner the school forgets this whole humiliating thing, the better, as far as he's concerned. But his favorite teacher is not going to let this go. She has decided that they are all of them, six of them, going to spend their vacation week together, learning to trust, getting to the bottom of it, figuring out the truth. She calls it the Justice Circle. Well, he sees it as his worst nightmare. Theo realizes as they get to know each other, it's hilarious, it's awkward, it's embarrassing. Some of it's kind of surprising. He realizes actually none of them really know each other as well as they thought, and it's kind of shocking, actually. Um, in this book, what really does lie beneath the surface? What is underneath what everybody else wants to put out there? If you've ever been a person who has thought to themselves, I didn't realize that that person was the way that they were, or I thought this about them until I got to know them. This is the book for you. There is a bit of a mystery around this story as well, because of course you're trying to figure out which person is responsible for what happened to Theo's pictures. It wasn't me. It's by Levy. You'll really enjoy this one, I think, in realistic fiction. Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Zepedes. For a historical fiction reader, gosh, this one's just fantastic. Lena is just like any other 15-year-old girl living in Lithuania in the 1940s. We're in the time of World War II, and she's doing all the things that any high school age girl would be doing. She's getting crushes on boys. She is painting and drawing and spending time with friends. But one night, Soviet officers barge into her home and they tear her family apart, removing them from their comfortable life. And she and her brother and her mom are separated from her dad. They're forced onto this crowded, dirty train car. And as they're ripped away from her father, she is wondering, when, if ever, she'll see her dad again. Because she's heard stories and she knows at the time of all that's going on in her country, it's possible that they may never be together again. They are taken, she and her brother and mom, off to a work camp in the coldest areas of Siberia and forced under Joseph Stalin's orders to dig for beets and live and work under these awful work conditions. But at the same time, thanks to her art, she is able to escape. Through her drawing and through her painting, she can find a way to, kind of find some comfort. And luckily, through that as well, she's kind of documenting what's going on, the events that are occurring. She hopes that this might be a way to communicate with her dad as well, sending these messages along the way to her father's prison camp to let him know that they are still alive. Take a look at Between Shades of Grey in historical fiction. It really is a very different look at what was going on in World War II if you've read other stories about this time period. Trapped by Michael Northrop in Adventure is terrific for those who might be sitting in school wondering to themselves, what would it be like to be stuck here overnight? Especially when the snow is coming down or it's getting icy and cold. Or if you're waiting for a ride and thinking, what if my ride didn't show up? Well, a couple of boys are standing outside doing exactly that. In fact, they're a couple of the last seven to be waiting after school as this blizzard has come through. And due to the weather and that storm hitting so hard, their rides don't get there. It's impossible. The roads are blocked off, right? They can't make it there. Well, it doesn't seem so bad. Let's spend the night at school one night, kind of fun, something different, exciting, an adventure. And that doesn't seem so bad for a night, figuring that by the next day there will be a way for the snowplows to come through. Well, this is like the snowstorm of the century. The snow keeps coming, the ice keeps building up, right? Freezing rain. It is torrential. And because of that, the power goes out, and eventually the heat, and things become more and more of like a dire situation. We're not talking about now the fun of being trapped in the school for a day. We're talking about that day leading into more days. And what happens when you are stuck with maybe even some people that you don't want to be stuck with in your school with no chance of getting out anytime soon? This is a book called Trapped. Check it out in Adventure and put it on hold. This is one that anytime it gets shared, it often gets checked out right away, but it's a quick read. So it'd be one that you should put on hold and think about adding to your wait list for a later time. Dragon Run by Patrick Matthews. We have so many readers who love dragon books, and this is one of the favorites in fantasy. Testing day is supposed to be a day for celebrating. And for Al, our main character, born into this wealthy family, well, he's expecting to just follow in his dad's footsteps. His father is very successful, and he's expecting that that's just going to be the way it goes for him. Al, though, does have to depend on the rank number that he receives at the testing. The higher the rank that he has tattooed on his neck, the better his life will be. To Al's surprise and to his horror, Al is revealed to be rank 0, which is the lowest of the low. Now he's not only an outcast, he's also a danger to his whole family. And if he sticks around, it puts their lives at risk as well. Al has no choice. He has to go on the run. He has to flee the brutal colors, the men who hunt down the zeros and put them to death. What's Al going to do when he is reduced to only surviving? Read Dragon Run by Patrick Matthews and find out for yourself. Close to a Killer by Marcia Qualley. This is an older book, but man, is it a good mystery. I love the setup for this story. Barry's our main character who's kind of had to fend for herself a little bit while her mom was in prison. And while mom was in prison, mom met a bunch of people and decided when she got out that she was going to open her own hair salon. That's great. Good way to, kind of get a fresh start. She's opened the salon and has decided to name it Killer Looks. Great name. Especially because some of the women that her mom met while in prison are now going to work at Barry's mom's salon as the hairstylists and the manicurists and the facial, people. So, I mean, how fantastic is that? That, this salon is going to have all of these women who were former prisoners working at the salon. And of course, it makes it, in this small town, the hottest place to go to get your hair done and your nails done and all your other beauty routines. Things are great. There's a long list of customers waiting to get in to Barry's mom's salon. It's all going great until, that is, 2 customers are brutally murdered. And fingers are pointed directly at Barry's mother and some of the other women who work at the salon. Is this a case of people simply assuming, or is it true? Barry wants to get to the bottom of it. You got to read Close to a Killer to find out what is happening in this. Are they getting set up? Read the book. You'll love it. My last story, The Way Home Looks Now. I realize, I might be thinking about summertime, even though we are not quite in that season. But this book is a baseball story, and I love the setup for this one too because it's just such a relatable thing. We've got a 12-year-old kid, Chinese American, named Peter, and he and his family have always shared this passion for baseball. They're fans of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have been, big attendees of the games. Unfortunately, something really tragic happens in Peter's family at the beginning, and the family kind of fragments a little bit. Peter's mom becomes really paralyzed with grief and sadness, and she can't really connect with the family at that time, and she's drifting farther and farther away. And so Peter, being the kind-hearted man, kid that he is, decides that he's going to try to lift his mom's spirits by trying out for Little League. He's hoping maybe his mom will come and watch some of the games. Well, Peter's dad, pretty strict guy, pretty serious, volunteers to coach the team. That's a nice thing to do, except that his dad is so strict and so serious that some of Peter's teammates are not a big fan of his dad being the coach, and it's making it really hard on Peter. Peter's wondering if playing baseball was not such a great idea. He doesn't know how to tell his dad. He's trying to do this to bring his family together, not push them farther apart. What a hard thing for a teenager to try to do. Is it going to be possible for this family to come together over this game or not? You got to read the book to kind of find out. And I want to hear in this video from the author, Wendy Shang, to talk a little bit about the inspiration and research that she did before writing her story. Let's take a look.
The Way Home Looks Now was initially inspired by my my dad coaching my brother's team. It was the early 1970s, and a girl wanted to join the team. And the way my dad handled it, and I'm not going to give too much away here, was something that I always admired about what he did and how he thought. And it was sort of my way of, even though it was handled a bit differently, memorializing his values and what he was kind of showing me by doing what he did. So for The Way Home Looks Now, I visited the Little League Museum in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I went there originally just to see the stadium and to see if it was as I'd seen it on TV. But they also have this fabulous museum where I saw news clippings that I've been looking for because, as you know, in The Way Home Looks Now, one of the issues is girls playing baseball. And I kept looking and I'm like, I couldn't find the thing where people are like, girls shouldn't play baseball because blah, blah, blah. And it was there where I actually saw things where people are saying things like, girls shouldn't play baseball because if they get hurt, then a male coach would have to touch them. Or girls shouldn't play baseball because there are no bathrooms for them. Like, these were completely unsolvable problems. And they also had some great video clips I hadn't been able to find showing some of Taiwan's games and some of their kind of highlights. So that was a real treat for me.
Take a look in the sports section under S for Shang if you'd like to take a look at this book, The Way Home Looks Now. I hope that one of the books I shared today sounds like one that you may wish to read. Keep in mind, some of these books do get checked out right away, and so of course you may want to put some books on hold, look back at previous lists, or as always, search up on the catalog for titles that may look like books you'd like to check out. I appreciate your time and your listening. Thanks so much, and as always, happy reading.